All right, we're finally here. Welcome to episode 1 of the show, the UnderDAWG Show. I'm Nate Harding, assistant swim coach at the University of Redlands. And we're finally here, man. I've been trying to get these guys on. Our schedule's kind of been going back and forth. So we really wanted to get on and kind of share some insight into not only about the University of Redlands, what we have to offer here from a swim and dive perspective, but really we just wanted to give you guys some gems. I have a couple of gentlemen. I have 2 guests with me today, actually. So yeah, let's just get on it, get into it. My first guest is a senior swimmer here at the University of Redlands, Rafael Zasas. Raf is one of our seniors swimming with our sprint group with our swim and dive team. He's a member of our all conference podium finishing 400 freestyle relay team. That was a pretty big moment that I got to experience. Also, he's a computer science major. He's the lead for the developer student club here on campus, which hopefully we'll get into a little bit later on. And then, yeah, so I'm gonna let Raf kind of tell everybody else a little bit about himself. So Raf, I appreciate you for joining us. Finally, glad to finally get you on. You're a busy man. You're kind of difficult to get a hold of, but man, I appreciate you for joining us and kind of really allowing the people just to hear kind of what you bring to the table and what Redlands brings to the table and your experiences in general. So, Raf, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been great to finally get on this. I know that we've been planning this for a while, but it's really nice to be here and see both of you again. I know that we had these kind of chats on pool deck so often. It's really nice to be able to see you guys again, even if it's not in person. Get to chat to you. So a little bit about me. I'm a swimmer at heart. I'm an international student from South Africa, and I like to program. I like coding. I like computers. And more than anything, I think I like making things. That's a little bit about me.
Nice. Appreciate it. Yeah, man, no worries. I think, especially in today's day and age, you guys are like in full swing in class. So you guys' schedules are crazy. You would think you would have more time, but I feel like you guys are even more crunched for time, especially during the week. And you know what I mean? So like I said, I appreciate you for joining us and, taking a little bit of time to kind of share what you do here on campus. So next we have actually a recent alumni, Matt Skinner. Matt was also a part of our sprint group. I actually had both of these guys in one lane most of the time, believe it or not, you know what I mean? So the sprint group was definitely interesting, but yeah, Matt was part of our podium finishing 200 freestyle relay as well. You know what I mean? That was a cool experience. And, definitely one of our main contributors last season, as far as our men's swim team, one of our captains, and he's a public policy and economic major. So he's going to share a couple of things, trying to give us a little bit of game as far as, what that entails, his experiences. Every student's experience is a little different, but he's going to share a little bit with that. So, Matt, I appreciate you for joining us, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be here. Been looking forward to this. I actually was going to touch on your point earlier with regards to that all conference. I don't know if you got it yet, Raph, but I just got in the mail that little sheet of paper that we can frame and hang up on the wall of all the all conference for SCIAC, which I thought was pretty cool. I think I got that yesterday, actually. But basically now I'm back in Denver, Colorado. I double majored in economics and public policy with a concentration in economic and healthcare policy. And I kind of strayed away from public policy after college right now. I'm an associate at a commercial real estate brokerage firm. And so I'm currently doing that, and I've been doing that for about 3.5, 4 months or so. And it's going well. I'm just happy to have a job out of college. So not too much else to ask for.
Yeah, man, that's dope. That's dope. And I think it's interesting that you're back home. I think I remember that when I first finished college and I went back home. It's kind of a scary time, you know what I mean? Kind of, getting out of the comfort zone of college, you know what I mean? So it sounds like you're doing your thing. You sound like you're doing your thing. So I'm gonna go back to Raf, and let him kind of share a little bit about how he got to Redlands. So Raf, you're originally from South Africa. So University of Redlands is in Southern California. So just tell us a little bit about how did you end up in Southern California at the University of Redlands? You know what I mean? So kind of share with the people, briefly, because yours is an interesting story, but how you got here in the first place.
Yeah, so growing up as a swimmer, I had a lot of people in our club team that would come over to the States on swimming scholarships. And so growing up, it was always a dream of mine to come over here and swim. I would say later on in my high school career, I started realizing that I had another passion, which was for programming. And it made me realize that if I was going to come to the States, it should probably be in California, being the hub of technology and the hub of software development. I really wanted to try and blend both of my passions together. And Redlands just seems to be the best fit for me, a place where I could focus on academics and still continue my passion for swimming. I was recruited by Jeff Depew. I call him the Dom.
My God.
My God. So that was pretty much my path. I just chatted to a bunch of different coaches, and Jeff really, he made the effort to try and communicate with me and get to know me, and we made it happen, and here I am.
Yeah, that's dope. That's dope. It's always cool to have international students kind of give their perspective, and I think South Africa has like a pretty good pipeline of like international kind of superstar swimmers and coaches. You know what I mean? So not only are you coming from another country, but you're also coming from, in my opinion, at least, a really big country that's really good in and competitive swimming. So that's cool. That's cool. So I'm going to talk to a little bit about Matt. So Matt, you're from Colorado. So which is and we get a lot of swimmers from with interest who are from Colorado and Nevada and Arizona. So tell us a little bit of how that worked out and how you kind of ended up in University of Redlands.
Yeah, it was a interesting process, to say the least. You got a bunch of different emotions and feelings and thoughts of where you want to be when you're a senior in high school. And so I knew that I wanted to do something in terms of like the political science, economics realm. And so that obviously leaves a lot of options on the table. And I was looking at several schools all across the States. And I think at the end of the day, especially after my recruiting trip, I went on 3 recruiting trips to different schools, but after my last one, which was at Redlands, it was just easy to just say that I wanted to be here. I mean, you can't complain. You have a beautiful, 13, 14 lane outdoor pool in Southern California. You're nice and tan. It's warm. You get to swim outside. And for people in Colorado, that's not really something that you get to do besides 2 or 3 months out of the summer. It's a lot of going to swim practice, walking out, and your hair is frozen. And so that was a big thing. I just wanted to be outside and swim. And then one big thing also, besides the academics of Redlands for my major, but was also just the importance of the team and the dynamic with the team. And on my recruiting trip, I made friends with guys just within 24 to 48 hours who once I decided I was going to go to Redlands, or you just became even better friends and are some of my best friends. And so I after visiting all the schools that I visited, I just never saw a team dynamic that was as strong as the guys team at Redlands and the girls team. But I spent a lot more time with the guys team on my recruiting trip. And so, that's what made it for me. If I was going to pursue something for the next 4 years and do it for the next 4 years, you got to find a place you enjoy it the most, besides obviously, the quality education that you look forward to getting at the school that you go to. So yeah, that sealed the deal. Wasn't too hard of a decision to make after visiting.
Nice. That's interesting. So I got a quick question for both of you guys. You guys can kind of chime in here. So now, we got this pandemic going on, right? And a lot of the high school students, prospective students, don't get an opportunity to kind of really come on campus and get a true vibe, of the team. You know what I mean? Like you said, Matt, like you had a good experience, and that's a big part of the decision-making process, right? It is like how much do I vibe with the team? You know what I mean? Like you go to certain camps, like, yeah, coach is cool, but I don't know if I can't really see myself, hanging out with hanging out with them. I could see myself hanging out with some people at Redlands, you know what I mean? So you have those kind of conversations. Yeah. So what do you guys think about just not having that opportunity to kind of come on campus and really get an opportunity to do more than just meet the team and meet the coaches. Actually, like, you just stay the night in the dorms. Like, what will be some advice, or what do you guys think about that? And then what will be some advice that you kind of have for the high school seniors? You guys knowing and going through the experience yourself of being a college athlete and knowing what to expect. What kind of advice would you give them? Now that they don't have that, you know what I mean? Or how would you approach it if you didn't have that aspect? How would that affect your college decision making? College decision to go to schools.
You can start out, Raph, if you want. I'm gonna think about this for a second.
So I actually came from that situation. I wasn't able to come on a recruiting trip because it was international. I think the biggest thing that drove me to come into Redlands was the interaction I had with the coach. Because I wasn't able to interact with the swimmers, I had to trust that the coach and I were aligned in values and aligned in the way we looked at the sport, that same coach would have recruited swimmers who were also similarly aligned. I don't think that it has made the biggest impact for me, because I kind of made the decision that if I was going to come to a school, I was going to make the very best of it. So just because I wasn't able to see the team and meet the people, I think that it allowed me to make a hard decision when I committed that no matter what happens, I'm going to do the very best to make the best of what I've got. And that's some advice that I would give to people, is that it's a strange situation right now. Take in all the information that you can, make an educated guess, and when you make your mind up, stick to it. Because there's only one person that can make things better for you, and that's you.
That's low-key fire. Before you go, Matt, that's low-key fire advice, because I think a lot of people, like, I don't know if that kind of went over the head what you just said, and it's totally to my mind about international students. A lot of international students don't have the opportunity to come to campus and visit. Some do, but some, a lot of them don't. So, you guys kind of have kind of understand what that means, and kind of understand, like, having to take the coach's word and trying to get the most information possible so that you can kind of make the best decision you can about the next 4 years of your life. So that's really good advice. In my honest opinion, I think the official visits are great. They're a great addition to kind of help. You know what I mean? But when we talk about your 4-year experience, your official visit, you're not going to get enough information on your official visit to make a decision about the next 4 years. That should be a part of your experience, part of your equation of, like, what decision you're going to make. So that's a very good approach. So if someone takes the official visit away, or someone takes that experience away, you still have a lot of information to kind of make a good decision, And so that was really good advice, Raph. I appreciate that. But Matt, what you think?
Yeah, I go along the lines of what Raph was saying with regards to keeping an open mind and doing what you have control of, which is, your college experience, and doing the best you can, and looking for the most opportunities wherever you go. And I think that's really beneficial. I want to add in one thing, and that's that I can't imagine how hard it is to choose school amidst the pandemic when you're not able to visit. But what I can say is if you can kind of visualize yourself in scenarios, I know this might be a little weird to say, but if Redlands has the same academics that you're looking for and everything you're looking for on that side, and so does a school in the Midwest, you have to thinking of, maybe location, or do I want to swim outside? Could I do that? Would that be more fun? If I'm going to get the same academics and similar quality of education at a school that might be inside or it's cold, does that affect your decision? And I think for me, that was a really, really big deal, because there's a lot of schools that have great programs, but they're all kind of similar in one way. And one thing that you're going to take away from your college experience, especially is when you're an athlete, is specifically the sport you played and the team that you were with. And so I mean, to be quite honest with you, if I could redo the college decision again, I would be choosing the same school that I went to for the last 4 years. And one thing about as you get older in college and you meet more people and build those relationships. I mean, freshman year might be hard, but every single year of college, I enjoyed more and more. And there wasn't a year of college that I didn't enjoy. It was just, I had way more fun, and you get to know the swimmers. The swimmers spend so much time with each other. And so you have to realize that, like, put yourself in a position. If you have a good coach that's coming and reaching out to you and you're talking to other swimmers, like, these people really want you. And that's somebody that you feel like you should maybe be with for the next, several years or so, in a place that you should go. And that was one thing that also stuck out to me after my recruiting trip, and even before, is that several swimmers were reaching out to me, guys that were a couple of years older than me, that went through the same exact thing, and just kind of helping me guide through the process. And I think when you have a great location and a great school, and it's outside swimming, and you really enjoy everything there, and then you also have all your teammates and all these coaches coming to you from that same school that want you, I think that's the best combination. And I think that's what you guys have here. The coaches and the swimmers really care about prospective students that are, in high school, whether they're juniors or seniors or even sophomores, and their futures. And I think, I didn't experience that at any other school that I was looking at. So, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think that's interesting that you kind of were able to see that right off the bat. I think for some students, it's a little bit more of a difficult decision. You know what I mean? Like, they're torn between 2 or 3 schools. You know what I mean? That's interesting.
Yeah.
That you kind of like got to feed off of the vibe right away. Like, man, like, I could see myself here, and that's really what it's all about. And if I'm honest, that's what me kind of doing this, this show is about as well. Like, whether the students, watching this end up coming to Redlands or not, you know what I mean? It's important that you guys, like, since we're going through this pandemic, that I find a way to kind of give some sort of value to help students along this path. Because in a world today where, our mental health is kind of like, we're trying to figure. I can only imagine what high school students are trying to figure out right now as they go through mental health, as they figure out, SAT test and college apps, 15 different schools, talking to countless coaches, going to club practice, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I mean? And so, I think because we just wanted to offer something of value to kind of help with that decision. So yeah, those are really, really great answers. I really, I learned a little bit myself, you know what I mean, about you guys' kind of journey before you got to Redlands. So definitely appreciate that. All right, cool. So on the next segment, we're gonna, talk a little bit about specifically computer science. So hopefully, I could talk a little bit with Raf, and we can kind of give you a little bit of free game for all of our future developers. Anybody aspiring to be a developer, thinking about majoring, minoring in computer science and what that entails, pros, cons. Hopefully, we can give you a little bit of free game, and we're gonna talk a little bit with Raf. And so cool. So let's kind of get into that. So Raf, I got a stat for you, man, and this was kind of an interesting stat. I think in this day and age, where where the economy is important, and especially as the rising cost of tuition for college, as tuition goes up, the one of the main questions people ask, like, okay, is this major going to set me up for a job? Like what does this major do for my chances of getting a job? We know a lot of that is also depending on that person and with the work they put in and the connection they make. But, is this major important for me to kind of, set myself up to be competitive in the job market? You know what I mean? So this is the stat that I have. And, I'm going to have you tell me what you think about it, Raf. But basically, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the employment of software developers is projected to grow 24% from now to 2026, which is much faster than the average of other occupations. Shout out to Professor Trish Cornez for giving me that. But yeah, so that, like, what do you think about that stat, and what do you think about the opportunities for software developers specifically in computer science?
I actually didn't know about that stat. That's very interesting. Something that immediately comes to my mind is it's a great opportunity. So, we're always speaking about bringing value to people, and if we're going to look at university education as a means to gain skills and to bring value into your life so that you can bring value into a business or maybe your own business, we look at something like computer science and say, this is a tool for you to unleash creativity. And I think that is one of the reasons that it is growing so fast, is because there is a huge pool of people who are good at computer science, but also good at other things. And so if you look at that in the context of somebody that's a business major, they might be really good at business and have a great business sense, but they don't exactly have a means to distribute that to people. An app would be a great way to do that. But in order to create an app, you need to have a little bit of CS sense. And you can take that example and expand it into almost any field nowadays. It's growing at an extremely fast rate. There's new technologies like machine learning coming into play, and it really allows students to find a niche area in the job market. They can take their passions, be it business or art or math or extreme data collection, and use computer science to sort of bridge these areas. I really think that it's a great opportunity for people, even if they're not exactly CS minded, to take what their passions are and build upon it. Yeah, that's most of what I have to say for that.
Yeah, that's really good, and I really do hope everybody that's listening really caught what he was saying, because that's really, really, really good advice. And honestly, I was talking to a prospective student athlete a couple weeks back, and they like computer science. They also like art. You know what I mean? And it was. And I think this is a common theme, in families, right? So their parents are more keen, like, you need to do computer science, that's set up, you're set up, but she's kind of really passionate about art, and so I was kind of trying to explain to her, like, kind of finding unique ways to bridge those two things together, because I think in today's day and age, like, most successful companies, are starting to understand that you cannot be successful in 2020 without really being a tech company. You know what I mean? And so, like, a good example of that, like, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and, one of the podcasts, shout out to Earn Your Leisure, but they were saying that, like, Tesla is not like a car company. It's a tech company that sells cars. You know what I mean? Or Domino's is not a pizza company. It's a tech company that sells pizza, So I think that, like, having that mindset, they were able to, those companies are finding ways to solve problems and connect, like, something that we wouldn't necessarily think has anything to do with tech, but become really good at tech and lead the field. You know what I mean? Whether it be selling cars, whether it be selling pizza, you know what I mean? So I was trying to convince this prospective student athlete, and to understand, like, whether you end up coming around or not, I'm just trying to give you some game here. Like, it's okay that you're passionate about art, maybe even more passionate about art than computer science, you know what I mean? But you actually can have your cake and eat it too. You know what I mean? If you can find something you're passionate about with art and find a problem, you know what I mean, with the art that can be solved in tech, like, then, man, like, you probably be you'd be ahead of the game as compared to maybe some formal, quote unquote, art majors,
Could I actually come in there with something? Is that I think that, in fact, if you're an art major and you're looking to get into programming, you might even have an up in the game on programmers. Because truthfully, at the end of the day, it's just a set of rules. Programming is just a set of rules. And most people can read those rules, understand them, and apply them. But it's becoming more difficult to separate yourself from other programmers who also understand those rules. Being an artist allows you to do that. Being an artist allows you to develop an app that is not only functional, but beautiful. Same is true for a website. And I think that, especially for artists, it goes both ways. You could be an artist working in a computer science firm, making beautiful websites and apps, because they do need front-end developers with a great art sense. But you could also be a personal artist who needs to have a resume website to display their art portfolios. And I think that having the ability to connect these worlds, it really will help no matter what your major is.
Yeah, that's dope. So that's just like, and that actually leads me into, perfectly into the next question I was going to ask you, because you're a DSC lead, and DSC stands for Developer Student Clubs on campus, and it's an organization that's kind of, correct me and stop me at any time here, Rap, but it's an organization that that Google kind of set up for you guys to really do, like we just said, connect not only the computer science kids and developers on campus, but connect with the math majors and the biology majors and the engineering or whatever the case may be, connect them on campus to help solve problems. And so you're the lead with our DSC on campus at Redlands. So just share a little bit about your experience with DSC, why you're doing it, and just talk to the people about like your experiences with that.
So that's a multifaceted question. I think I'll start off with why I'm doing it. Why I'm doing it is passion. Really, it is. I am extremely passionate about technology and about programming. And I found myself wanting to gain more and more information a lot faster than pretty much traditional universities can afford to do. So I was looking for all these different ways to learn how to make a website, how to make an app, how to, manage a user's database, things like that. And it became tedious. And for a lot of the scenarios, you have to learn how to use a certain technology. It's blocked by a paywall. I managed to stumble across, quite frankly, Google Developer Groups, which is an initiative that was brought together by Google as a whole to empower people that maybe, studied finance and would like to get into coding. You join a group, you connect yourself with other people that are computer literate, and they can help you. And then they decided to bring that into the schooling system, the university system. And that's what I found. I found the Developer Student Clubs, which is essentially a big group to connect people kind of like me, people with similar interests and similar passions. And it allows you to not only meet new people, but learn new things. So the entire organization hosts events ranging from optimizing your LinkedIn profile, helps you get a job, to a regular podcast like you and I and Matt are doing right now. Just understanding how it is that people that work at Google got to where they are. That's a little bit of the why, is because I'm passionate and I saw the way that this organization runs, and I thought that, man, this is a great way for me to share some of my passions with students in the university who might also want to tackle these problems the same way I have. And then in terms of my experience that I've had with the club so far, I would say it's been far beyond my expectations. Way, way more than I expected, and in all the best ways possible. I've gotten to meet students that are really artsy, that may have never thought that they would be a programmer. Turns out incredibly talented. And that for me has been extremely rewarding, to meet people that thought that there was something that, society may have told them, you have to be like this, you can't be a programmer. And then they just get put into a group with other people that can show them, hey, that's not exactly it. You can be an art major, you can be a sports person, you could be a business major, and together we can help you connect and grow and learn. That's the biggest takeaway from the DSC.
Yeah, that's dope. That's dope. I think the more I hear about DSC, the more, like interesting it really, really sounds, you know what I mean? And I did a little bit of research, watched a couple of videos on YouTube about DSC, the initiative as a whole, not just from the Redlands campus. And it's pretty cool, man. Just, what you guys are able to do and the connections you guys are able to make that I feel like, might not have necessarily made without that organization. So that's dope. And a question kind of came to my mind while you were talking, Rap, and I'm gonna before we move on to our next segment and let Matt talk about his experiences and what he's doing, but I kind of want to hear from Matt. So from my perspective as a swim coach, like 99% of my interactions with you guys are on the pool deck, right? And I overhear, you guys talking about classes and different things on campus, you know what I mean? But I really don't ever really get a chance to really, outside of just, normal talk that me and you, like we all have, either on the pool deck or off the pool deck, or you guys sharing about what you're doing on campus with me, I don't really get to really understand what you guys are really doing. So, you're a computer science major, passionate about being a developer, right, Raph? And, Skinner, he's going to go a little bit more into like what he majored in and, how that set him up. But I'm curious to know, like, as far as the men's swim team and maybe even the women's swim team, swim and dive team, I should say, how did those connections, like, did you guys majors or passions or whatever you guys doing ever kind of come together just because you guys were on the men's swim team? For example, like you being developer or you being the lead at DSC, Raph, and, Matt being an econ major, had those things did ideas come up or different opportunities for studying different things like studying abroad or internships pop up just because of like what Matt may know that you didn't know, Raph, or vice versa, and Raph may know something that Skinner don't know? Like, talk a little bit about just the connection that you guys all made on the academic level just from being connected from the men's swim and dive team, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So what I was going to say is, there's been times when I'm several years older, a couple of years older than a student on the men's team that's below me or women's team, but they're in the same major than me, and so I've taken the classes already that they're in, and I think one benefit to having a team like our team that's very close, but also it's a big team, is that you're bound to have hopefully a person or two that's in your major that's maybe already done the classes or is currently doing them with you. And so that's good to have, because some people are intimidated to go to tutor time or academic study hours to meet with tutors or people who've taken the class that they don't know, but it's an easy way in for you to not only study with people, but to talk to people about that your major that they're in, that you're, a year or two ahead of, and what to expect and what professor to take. And so I think having a big team, and a bunch of different majors, as long as somebody's bound to have that, you're going to be able to cross paths with them whenever you want. And our team's so open with, I've helped numerous people with homework assignments that I've done, or I'll still get asked once in a while, like, who should I take for this class? Or like, what would you recommend on doing on this? And it's just, I think that's one thing that the team brings you together, but it also isn't just some sports team that brings you together because of swimming. It also allows you to come together to understand more about academics and like the real reason that you're going to college and what you want to do.
Yeah, that's solid. So you said that students even hit you up like now, even though you graduated, to ask what professors you're taking?
Yeah, I'll hear from some of the guys sometime about like this professor, this class, or like, what'd you write this? Because I mean, basically, it's the same class that was taught to me 2 years ago is going to be the same class that's taught to somebody on the team right now, and it's going to have the same papers, similar tests. And I think what's beneficial about that though is when you get to understand a professor, you get to or hear about it from other students. It really helps you understand if that's a professor that's right for you. Because it's not some professor that teaches one class, next semester there'll be a different professor that teaches the same class. And it's learning about the professors. One thing that's really big about college is learning about the professors that you get along with, that you like the way they teach, and you feel like you can talk to them about that. And there's some professors that work better with other students than others. And I think knowing that, not going into a class blind, but instead knowing the professor from previous swimmers' experiences is really important. And I mean, that goes for, that's just in general within school. I've asked numerous students, it's not just swimmers, but when you have somebody that's a swimmer that you can just ask that easily, it is, it's very beneficial.
Yeah, that's good, because I overhear you guys, like I'll be walking over, to like our lane or my group that I coach, and I'll just overhear you all talking about professors, especially when it's come like registration time, I'll overhear this, and you guys like really, the conversations, I don't know why I'm surprised, but the conversations are really like in-depth conversations about like why, this professor, and it isn't always because, certain things they don't like, but it's certain things like I do better when when professors do this, and I do better when professors don't do this. You know what I mean? I'm more of a visual person. I'm more of a, you know what I mean? It's more conversations like that. And so it's like I overhear that, and it's so interesting, you know. And even sometimes like randomly while you guys are waiting in between sets, you know what I mean? You got like the conversation that I hear sometimes, you know, among student athletes is kind of very interesting, you know. So and I don't really have to have a deep conversation with you all to know you guys are, you know, helping each other out, assisting each other, and really help to navigate that. And I can only imagine if you didn't have a swim team to go, you're gonna have peers to kind of help you with that, but you have an immediate group of like 45 to 50 people to help you out with that. So Raph, I don't know if you had anything you wanted to add to that.
Yeah, I had one thing on Matt's points about, you know, helping other students and tutoring specifically. It was my very first session at Redlands. We sat outside on the grass fields, and I was speaking to a senior at the time, Brian, who was also a computer science major. And, you know, Coach Leslie mentioned to us that we should share, or the seniors should share with the freshmen, one thing that they thought was important to note going into the next 4 years. And one of the things Brian mentioned was the tutoring center at Redlands. And that initial interaction I had was really what opened me up to going to tutoring. I never really looked at tutoring as like a resource that's there for me. I thought that, you know, tutoring is like kind of like, oh, you know, you go to tutoring if you're struggling, things like that. Not at all the case. One of the things that made me really happy was last year, I think we had five swimmers on the team who were part of the tutoring center, the academic success center at the university. And, you know, thinking about that initial interaction I had with Brian, that definitely shaped my choice to become a CS tutor. And I would like to imagine that maybe some of the conversations I had with other swimmers shaped their choice to become a tutor as well. And on top of that, you know, not only is it nice to help people, but it's also a great way for you to learn yourself. And I've spoken to the other tutors in the swimming team. We've had these conversations, and we all think that it's helped us academically. Being able to explain a subject is great in being able to know where you are in the understanding of the material. You know, that's a great advantage of having a team. Being able to speak to people about things like that off the bat. I was a freshman in a different country. I didn't know anybody. And that was one small piece of information that really changed things for me. I'm really glad that I had that opportunity.
Nice. Yeah, that's good, man. That's good stuff. I didn't know that. So you said 5 of the current swim and dive from last season were also tutors from the tutoring center. Nice. It's good, man. So that's you know, I don't know what any other athletics team looks like, the percentages as far as how many of them are tutors, but 5 is a good amount, you know what I mean? And like, so that means that you come onto the swim and dive team at Redlands, you know, you have a good portion of our students who are used to assisting students, you know what I mean? So like, it goes back to what you said before, Matt, like students may not be as comfortable to go, you know, and say, I need help at the tutor center, you know what I mean? But you already have teammates who you already are more comfortable with, who you know are a computer science major, who are a math major, who are a bio major, you know what I mean, who could help tutor you with whatever you need tutoring. So that's pretty dope. That's dope. So cool, man. That's dope. You guys definitely give us some good insights. This is going well so far. So our next segment, before we get too long-winded, we're going to talk to Matt Skinner. He's currently an alumni, so he's already finished. He finished last season, so he's currently in the workforce, doing his thing, you know. So and that's like I mentioned before, that's kind of can be a scary, you know, or nerve-wracking, scary for some people, nerve-wracking thing, you know what I mean? Because you're done with school, you had this comfort zone of being in college for 4 years, staying in a dorm, chilling with your team, you know, and now it's like, man, I gotta work, I gotta get out there. The real world hits you, you know. So yeah, so Matt, just tell us a little bit about, you know, where you are, what you're doing specifically, that we can get a little bit into your major and how you kind of navigated, and what your plans are, and how Redlands helped you in general. So where are you at right now, and what do you tell everybody what you're doing?
So yeah, again, I'm in Denver, Colorado, and I'm working for a company. It's a smaller firm. It's about 10 to 12 of us, but we specialize in strictly in the sale, the disposition and acquisition of manufactured housing communities. It's like a niche market under commercial real estate. And so basically it's basically a nice name for mobile home parks. But there's some nice, manufactured homes are based on the idea and the grounds that it's not an on-site home because 70 to 80% of it is manufactured in a factory, but they're getting nicer, and some of them are look fairly nice. And what basically, it's a type of investment. It's just like a mutual fund, or it's a type of investment. So basically we represent buyers and sellers in commercial real estate that are looking to sell or buy properties. And so I have been doing that for the past 4 months or so. And at Redlands, I double majored in economics and public policy, with a concentration in economic and healthcare policy. And I think you can do a lot with both these majors. And public policy is a major that is usually advised to be paired with another major, because the public policy side is very open-ended. And it's kind of more of an application-based learning where you take classes. So in my instance, like healthcare policy, I did a capstone, my senior capstone for my public policy major on healthcare policy. And I've taken other public policy classes. And it's such a broad realm of what's in public policy. You've got economic policy, healthcare policy, foreign policy, military policy, you've got defense policy, everything, welfare policy. And so it really pairs well with a major, because it allows you to focus more and more and more on that major into something that may be more relevant. So for economics that I took was basically, it's a very theoretical, mathematical, and empirical based major. And with pairing it with public policy, and specifically economic policy, I was able to take that theory and math and empirical work that I've known and have been taught, and apply it to taxes and understanding what is happening currently and within the economic realm and the economy and in the world. And I think that's what's really beneficial, because you can go take a major that teaches you the foundations and gives you a broad rundown of the major. But if you can't apply that to what you want to do or to a job out there in the 21st century, then sometimes your major might be a little bit more discounted, I'd say. And that's nothing for anybody that's in those majors. I just think public policy is it pairs very well with different majors for those like looking to attack a specific field. And so I have a lot of friends that were in public policy, and they also paired it. They were like going to be lawyers, or they were going into pre-law, international relations, political science. They wanted to go work for think tanks in the private sector, doing being a financial analyst or something for a big corporation. And so though the public policy major is it helps you, it teaches you how to do research effectively, teaches you how to write concisely and precisely, and keep everything very short, and it greatly improves your writing, which is one thing in econ you've got 20, 30. I wrote my capstone, it was like 40 some pages, but I never had a paper that was more than 10 pages in public policy. And it just really teaches you how to become an effective writer, to get your point across without having to put a bunch of words and extra jargon that you don't need. And so yeah, that's it on my end. And I always had the dream of getting into real estate, especially commercial, just with like my grandpa and whatnot. And so I had the opportunity to get a job out here. And one thing I wanted to say that I think was really important is when I was applying for this job, there was a decent amount of applicants. And I think one thing that stuck out, which is actually why my boss ended up calling me in the first place to set up an interview, is he goes, he specifically says, the reason why I'm calling you is because you're a student athlete. I saw that on your resume. And he goes, in this world, there's a lot of people that come out with degrees, but people who can balance being a student or being an athlete with being a college student, those are the ones that are attractive to employers, because they're the people who have been able not only to manage their time and manage their time effectively, but have also been able to show that they're very hardworking and disciplined. And they're not just some 4-year college student that just went to college. They've got a lot more on their plate that they can handle. And he said that's pretty much the reason why he called me. He said that he likes working with student athletes. Those people that a lot of athletes don't, they're relentless in what they do. And so you can rely on them that they won't let you down. And I think, man, if I didn't swim in college, I wouldn't have this job that I'm enjoying right now. And so, you know, I definitely recommend swimming in college.
Nice. Yeah, that's dope. That's dope. That's a pretty powerful thought. Like, man, if you wouldn't have been a student athlete, it's a good chance that you wouldn't have gotten a call for that interview. You know what I mean? And you know,
Yeah,
you would be as work, but go ahead.
Yeah, and so, and I mean, it varies between employers, but I mean, this is just, you know, the luck of the draw. I applied for a job, and the guy was specifically looking for guys that had shown that they had some other extracurricular, you know, disciplined thing that they used to do or hobby that they used to do. And so, you know, I think not only does being a swimmer look good on a resume, but it also just gets you to understand how to effectively manage your time. When you need to go to bed, you know, when you need to wake up, when you need to be able to do your homework, and you have to have that stuff done by then, because if you don't have it done by then, you can't just say, hey Nate, I'm not coming to practice today, I'm running late on my homework. It's like that's done, or you're doing it later. And so you really learn to effectively manage your time when you've got things to do consistently, or you're tired consistently.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I'm glad you're doing that. So you see yourself. I know you talked a little about real estate. You know what I mean, and that's something that you kind of wanted to get into. You know what I mean, and the idea of joining public policy and economics is interesting as well. You know what I mean. I don't know. That's not my field, but I would imagine, you know, real estate is kind of like a buzzword right now. You know, especially real estate investing. You know what I mean. And you're talking about more of the commercial side of things, but I would imagine on the commercial side of things, you know, someone who comes in, you know, with an understanding of how to keep things concise and short with public policy, but also you have a really, really good understanding of the economics. And, you know what I mean? To me, it sounds like maybe a little different than maybe 90% of people who come into real estate investing. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. And I think one thing is my position is, I'm an associate. I do a bunch of different things, but one of the things we do is not only just communicating and writing legal documents for the clientele, but more importantly is underwriting a deal, which is basically looking at the numbers on a deal to see if it's creating projections. It's basically a financial model you run through a deal, and that is done on Excel. It can be done on a bunch of things, but I took an Excel class at Redlands. It was awesome, and then just having a fluid and concept of all the moving and the fluid parts and underwriting a deal, and having that solidified through my economics major, and then learning how to, you know, be concise about that, and learning how to write effectively, and more importantly, do research effectively from my public policy major. It's just everything's been paired together so well with my situation. And I think that's what's really important about, you know, choosing a college major is realizing that there's a lot that you can do with it, and it's just kind of pinpointing and just deciding what classes you want to take and you know what you want to do, and you can really get into that little niche groove of a job that you want. And especially coming out of college, you know, a lot of people come out of college and they've got a degree and they don't know what the hell they want to do. But if you can kind of figure out your skills, what you're good at, and then look at what you can do with that, you know, the opportunity is going to be endless.
Nice. Man, that's good. And it sounds like it's been a perfect marriage, you know, so far. You know what I mean? You're still relatively, you know, new to the idea of like working after college, but it sounds like it's been a perfect marriage, not because you took you know, everything was set up perfectly, but you had the mind to kind of think about, okay, what do I want to do? I need this class for this. I would like to do this. And you kind of set it up perfectly in a liberal arts education and kind of fit your needs and your desires and what you want to do. And so it was a perfect marriage because you made it a perfect marriage. You know, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah. So, yeah. It's what you make of it. And there's just so much opportunity to choose at Redlands. And there's just so many opportunities. I mean, my majors, basically I could get them done, and I spread them out over 4 years, but essentially it's 4 full semesters, 4 full semesters of 4 classes a semester to get everything done. And that gives you, you know, a year and a half of classes that you can take that can also count towards your major. And one thing about public policy is that you get to decide your major with your professor. And so when part of the classes aren't considered public policy classes, but you can count them as public policy classes for specific, like in economics, like you can double dip. And so you can just basically customize the public policy major that you want and have, another degree that builds upon another degree that you already are going for. And so that's why they recommend pairing public policy with something else. And so, it's really an ability to just craft your own major and make what you want of it. And so, I can't complain. I'm happy I did it, and I would totally do it all over again. So.
All right, man. Awesome. Well, we got I'm looking at my phone. We got 6 minutes left. The last 5 minutes or so, I really wanted to share, the unique is we can try to make it as quick as possible. But I think the three of us kind of have a unique story of, Raf's senior year, deciding to swim at Redlands, deciding to swim for his senior year, and me coming on as a brand new coach. I've probably been only working. So I kind of wanted to share that story. I'll do most of the talking, but I'll let you guys kind of chime in, and hopefully this will be like a funny, kind of cool, entertaining, end of the show.
It must have been a little over a year ago, if I'm right with the timing. I think we were a couple of weeks into the season.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll let you get on with your story, but it was, yeah.
We probably, it had to be like October. Yeah, you're right. Maybe like the third or fourth week of October.
Yeah.
That's it. Had to have been the time frame. I don't quite remember, but anyways, I'm gonna keep it short. So anyways, let me give you guys a little background. So I'm at this point, I have been coaching. I got hired in July, so I've been at Redlands for maybe 3 months. You know what I mean? A couple of months. So I was just kind of getting a feel for Redlands. I was loving everything. We just finished morning practice, and after morning practice, Matt was a lifeguard as well. So some morning practices he would hop out, get dressed, and then he would guard. He would be a lifeguard. So I was kind of cleaning up stuff on the pool deck, and I noticed Raf was lap swimming. We had lap swimming hours, right after our morning practice. And so sometimes it'll be in the morning. So it'll be maybe 2 people out there. Sometimes one person. That one person was usually Raf. You know what I mean? And sometimes for lap swimmers, we have professors who can swim. You know what I mean? But you can always tell them there's a swimmer in the pool. And so I never forget, he had his arena set up. He had his arena everything. He has arena mesh bag, snorkel, arena paddles. So, I was like, dang, who is that swimming? And, Matt, he kind of played it so cool. He was so nonchalant. And to this day, we're going to talk about this off camera, but I don't know if Matt kind of had kind of already talked to Raf and kind of had a plan, okay, we're going to try to get Raf to maybe come out for a team again. But he just played it so smooth. So at this point, Raf was not on our roster. So let me give you guys perspective here. Raf was not on our roster. This year he's a senior. So that year he was a junior. He had swam his freshman year, didn't swim his sophomore year. So he was, this is going into his junior year. So he was just swimming. So I asked him, I was like, man, who is that swimming? Who is that just swimming? He was like, oh, that's Raf. And then he kind of played it so cool, that's Raf. So I was like, okay, he's like, yeah, he's a junior. He swam for us his freshman year. And I kind of was like, okay, sounds good. And then I think Matt shot out some times. Then I was like, wait. You know what I mean? What, he swims that? You know what I mean? So he was like, yeah, he swims for us. He was like, yeah, you should talk to him and see if he wants to come out for the team. And I was just like, wait, time out, man. You know what I mean? He was like, yeah, just talk to him. So I had seen him. I introduced myself. We had small talk. And he swam again. A couple of days later, I seen him again. So then I stopped him again, had more small talk. So I was like, yeah, man, why don't we have a conversation? Let me get to know you, man. Let me hear a little bit about your story, And I'm gonna let Matt talk a little about it, but just about how smooth he was, and if he was trying to they had a plan to get Raf back on the team again. But he played so smooth. If it was me, if I was Matt, I would have been geeking Raf up. You know what I mean? Being so dramatic so we can try to get him on the team. But he was just so smooth. He's so nonchalant about everything. So me and Raf ended up having a conversation, and I ended up talking to Coach Les about it. And, he definitely was passionate about swimming still. He literally would wake up, early in the morning and just swim by himself, with his paddles, with his arena, everything, and just be swimming. And so definitely glad that we had that talk. And, he ended up joining our men's team. We had a conversation with our team, and, they welcomed with open arms. And so it was a unique opportunity, but I always thought it was so funny because I would never forget. I was like, who is this guy swimming? You know what I mean? And then when I did a little bit of research, I remember, I want to say I talked to Jeff. I may not have talked to Jeff before. It may have been after, but it was a lot of people like, who had, decent things to say about Raf, you know what I mean? And about his swim ability. And so we definitely had to get him on the team. But Matt, what was going through your mind, and what was the plan? Was it a plan, or I know you were good friends with Raf before, so what was going through your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was a plan. I mean, Raf comes and swims. I would work like 2 or 3 days a week in the morning at 7 a.m. after his morning practice, and I'd see Raf and always let him in, and he'd swim and we'd talk for a while because it'd just usually be him in this pool. And he came and kept swimming more and more and more and more. And I didn't, the first time I saw him, I wasn't like, join the team, but we just talked about swimming more and more. And I knew that he was uncertain about what he wanted to do. And I think that just, again, like you were saying, just small talk and, getting to know him and not putting a ton of pressure on him. Like, are you going to swim or not? Just let him kind of come into his groove and come into the team when he's ready for it. I think that's, that was the best decision. And so, I mean, it wasn't, I didn't have any intentions of coming in and trying to get him, on the team as soon as I could. But, I knew that if he was to decide that he wanted to come swim, I knew that all of us, and including the coaches, were more than welcome and more than happy to have him.
For sure. Well, I'm glad that connection was made. Fast forward to the end of the season, you know what I mean? The 400 free relay, it was definitely an experience.
That was fun to watch.
I'm gonna be honest. I thought about that. Like, I thought about, that's just me. Sometimes, like in the moment, I'll think about like, dang, how do we get here? You know what I mean? And I thought about, man, like it was a couple months back, man, this guy was lap swimming in the morning, you know what I mean? Even uncertain of whether he was going to be on the team. Now look at us, on the podium for the 400 freestyle relay, you know what I mean? That's just how things work in life sometimes, And so I thought about that, and I was just like, dang, it's crazy, But it all started from a conversation. It all started, you know what I mean, from just a little, him piquing my interest and then having a conversation. So, Raf, of course, we're talking about you, so I don't know if you have anything to say, but yeah,
I would firstly, I want to say thank you. I mean, the words are so kind. I really appreciate it. I really do. I don't think I've actually said this to both of you, but I mean, the two of you are predominantly the reason I came back. I grew up in an environment where if you weren't good enough, you were taking up somebody else's spot in the team, and we don't want you here. That was the way I was raised. And so it was constantly this dogfight to try and have some kind of acceptance. And I came in my freshman year, and I didn't really meet my own expectations. I didn't see myself as a swimmer, and I just I needed time. And then coming to lap swim was a way for me to just have some kind of like normal life. Swimming was all I knew. It was all I knew, and that brought me comfort. But then, when you guys approached me and made the effort to try and get me to swim again, I realized, man, this is a team of people that don't just want people to swim because they're good swimmers or anything. Because I mean, I'm an okay swimmer. I'm not a fantastic swimmer. There are people on the team that are much better than me. But the fact that you wanted me was indescribable. The fact that you have people that genuinely want you to spend every single day with them. Just because, that was unique and foreign to me. I didn't understand it, and I appreciated it so much. I didn't think that I would have a group of guys who would be like, hey, we really want you back. That was incredible for me, and I'm really appreciative for both of you. So thank you very much. It really made biggest difference.
Yeah, and I think that's before we have to wrap up, I think that just speaks volumes to the quality of the team that you have. And these type of stories are, what can sell people on deciding. And the stories like Raf, just the closest of the team and everybody wanting, you know, you to be there, and the fun and the chemistry and the dynamic of the team. And I can genuinely say that I've never seen a team, you know, whether that's from swimming at meets in Skyac or going on recruiting trips, or even just hearing from my friends across, you know, all across the country who swim, you know, none of them sound like they have anywhere near as much fun as we do on the team. And, you know, that's why, again, like I was saying, if I could redo 4 years of college, I wouldn't change it. You know, I'd still want to swim 4 years at Redlands on that team.
Nice, man. Well, I just feel, you know, honored and blessed just to be kind of like a fly on the wall, you know what I mean, and watch you guys, you know, perform. Is definitely, you know, perform in practice and at meets, and just be a community of men, you know what I mean, to look out for each other. I think that's the big thing. I think hopefully that's what drew, you know, Raf the most, is the community, you know what I mean? And he's seen something, you know, that could be an asset in his life, as far as having a community of men on campus, you know what I mean? Aside from the swimming, you know, we'll take care of the swim stuff, you know, but the community of men, you know, I felt was a big draw for Raf. So yeah, that's dope. Hey man, this has been more than I expected. You know what I mean? It's been great. I definitely want to honor you guys' time. So the last thing I'm going to ask you guys, and you guys can text me. You know, you don't have to do this on. You don't have to send me the song, you know, live on air. But you guys got to send me a song, because since the podcast is on Spotify, I get to have like a snippet of a song. You know what I mean? At the end of each show. So, you know, our first episode is gonna have so you guys gotta send me a song. Keep it.
Are we talking like a hyped pre-race song, or like?
It has to be the box, Nate.
Do your thing, though. You gotta send me a song. It's gotta be Matt and Rap, though. You know. All right, so send me a song. I appreciate you guys. Definitely being on this first episode. It was fun. Definitely kind of setting that foundation for what's to come. You guys definitely dropped a lot of knowledge, man. And, you know, I'll let you get back to Raf after this. He literally is going to go from this to a developer-student meeting. You know what I mean? So, like, he's, you know, on the grind right now. I'm pretty sure Matt's going to enjoy his Friday. You know what I mean? But thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. And as always, it's a wonderful day to be a Bulldog.
Thanks, Nate, for having us. I look forward to the comments on the final product.
For sure, man. All right, you guys have a good one, man. You guys have a good one, all right?
All right, see ya.
Thanks, Nate. Cheers.
See ya.